Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you a really sick video, which is, I think it's 5 jibs that you can do at your local bike park, but actually you can do it anywhere where the same sort of gradient or jumps apply. So a lot of these little jibs are really good to do at a bike park. All the jibs are fairly easy, because obviously I'm not a professional myself, and I'm not going to be throwing stupid tricks at you guys that I know the majority of you won't be able to just pick up your bike and go and do, because obviously I can't even do that anyway. Some of them are obviously going to be a lot easier than others, and we're probably not going to push higher than an intermediate trick. These are some tricks I like to do when I'm down at my local woods, pop them sometimes and impress the crowds and get the ladies. I've got one in mind that might be a little bit difficult to get used to at first, but I can promise you'll nail it if you keep practicing. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into it with the first little jib, which I like to call the uppy landing nose press fakie 180. This is what it looks like. So then, that was a quick example of the uppy landing front brake nose press backwards fakie 180. Now we're going to get into the things that you need to be able to do this trick. Thing number one is a very good sharp front brake. You really need a brake that's going to lock up like quite easily and really well when you get to the peak of the landing. Obviously if you're doing it on something like I am, which is a step up landing, if your brake doesn't work and you're leaning forwards like that whilst applying front brake pressure, even if it's not locked up, if you go over the end you're gonna die. So you really need to make sure that your front brake can grip the disc very well and stop the whole bike completely, which allows you to do the leaning forwards that you need to do for the nose press. I run a Shimano brake on the front, but basically any brake that's bled properly is gonna grip nicely and be sharp, so just as long as you keep your brakes maintained you should be alright. Thing number two is that you're going to want a nice gradient landing or bank or hill or anything. It doesn't have to be on the landing of a jump. You probably shouldn't do that in a bike park anyway, because if someone comes over the jump and lands on you doing an uppy landing nose press fakie backwards thing, you're probably going to get in a lot of trouble. So just find basically a nice gradient hill. If you get more comfortable with it, you can start doing it on steeper, longer, taller things, but it's all down to preference once you've mastered it. For example, in this woods I always do it on this step up here. The landing is quite flat, but it's enough to give me a good rolling back fakie speed to do the 180. Final thing that you need is a bike that's quite light. You don't really need it because I'm actually doing it on an e-bike which weighs 23 kilograms, which is literally like double your normal enduro bike. Basically just any bike that you're comfortable with maneuvering. Don't be put off by the weight of your bike, but obviously a lighter one is going to be easier. That was jib number one, starting off a little bit difficult I know, but we're going to tone it down on the next trick now. Jib number two is, best way I can describe it is the jump nose manual down, and it sounds very intimidating but it's actually very easy to master, and it looks something like this.
These APC, do your ABCs. I'm a young dreadhead with a...
So as you can see, all it is quite literally rolling my front wheel along the top of a tabletop in a little mini nose manual. Nothing long, nothing mental, and then dropping my back wheel into the landing and doing a nice little manual down until we hit the level ground. Now the way this is done, it probably looks a lot more difficult than it actually is, but all you want to do is approach the jump at a speed that if you were to jump it properly you'd clear it. And what you want to do is once you hit the lip, rather than pulling up to clear the jump like you would normally, you want to sort of jump but push forwards and down so that your front wheel touches the top of the tabletop. What I like to do is sort of give a little bit of a hop and then lean my weight forwards, because that helps me bring my weight over the front end and helps my front end actually touch the tabletop and roll for a little bit. All you want to do then is spot the transition from where it turns from a flat tabletop into the landing, and once you hit that transition peak or the meeting point, you're then going to want to lean backwards, drop the weight over the rear and let it manual down the landing. Extra points to you if you can manual out the landing and continue going onwards after the actual landing on the flat, but I personally can't do that, so I like to just do a little mini manual down the landing until I hit the level ground. So this is something that I think you should get out there and try, because like I said, it is a building block to doing it a lot better on bigger stuff, and you'll start to look really, really cool at your local spot. Jib number 3 is a little bit different. We're on berms now, and this is the scando flick, or the Scandinavian flick into a berm. Basically what it is where you sort of lock up your back brake and you skid the opposite way just before the berm and then hit into the berm the normal way. I can't really explain it more than saying that, but I'm going to show you some clips on some of the berms here. The berms in this woods aren't very steep or anything, so it's not very good to get insane scandies on, but I found a decent one that I can just sort of demonstrate on to the best of my ability with this sort of bermage. I'm going to show you on this flat berm just behind me here. It's the one that me and Brendan do cuts on quite often, so this is what it looks like. That was a scando flick. As you saw, I was going quite slow for this one. The berm's very mellow. So the way you do it is you're gonna wanna go quite slow like I was just there, like a medium speed. Don't bomb it into the berm or anything. And then simply, all you wanna do is kick your back end out the opposite way to the berm. You're gonna wanna use your back brake for this quite a lot. Lock it up, sort of lean forwards because that takes the weight off the back wheel. You'll find that it slides easier, and then kick it out, and then you're gonna wanna swing the whole thing back in and then hit it sort of like a cut, like not in the entrance of the berm properly, just in the middle like I was showing you just then. And they look really cool if you get them good. Let's move on to the last jib. So then, moving on to the final jib of the day, probably the actual easiest one to learn and master, and also probably the one that's gonna look the coolest out of all the tricks, and one that a lot of people do, and when you do it right, it sounds and looks awesome, and that is the berm cut. I've got a full 10-minute video teaching you all about it, what it is and how to do it, if you click the link up here, but in this video I'm just going to give a brief overview, show you some clips of what they look like. This is what a berm cut looks like. So as you can see, what cutting a berm is quite literally cutting out the entrance of the berm, hitting it in a different place than you normally would, generally the midpoint of the berm. Then you get a nice fast snappy drift into the berm, which kicks your back wheel out and fires you out the exit of the berm. As a brief overview, what you're going to want to do is cut out the entrance of the berm completely. I like to hit the berm typically in the middle, and all you want to do is approach it with some speed and then pump really hard and turn quite abruptly at the same time. But the back wheel will slide out into the berm, it will catch on the wall of the berm, and then you'll fire out in the exit and you should be fine. So then, that is 4 Mtb jibs that you can do at your bike park. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that all of them weren't very advanced. This is really sort of for beginners that haven't really even done tricks before. These are just little mini steezy jibs that you can do on some jumps, berms, whatever at your bike park. Start improving your confidence and bike control, and yeah, just generally becoming a better rider. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you sometime in the week. Hope you're having a good day or have had a good day. And yeah, see you in the next one.
I just wanna have some fun.